get the guns, the drugs from my generation. I'll take the fall, the saints, and across the nation. And it's a sex, the gods, the fakes, the fraud, they're messing with me. Come on, come on, come on, let's get it out. Move to my music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
Welcome back to Reliving the War. It's time to go back to 1996 and watch WWF Raw and WCW Nitro to see which show was the best on the 8th of January. A quick update before we begin today. I've been doing a little work updating the Reliving the War section of WrestlingBios.com. All episodes have been categorized by dates and the matchups have also been included, meaning everything is completely searchable. So for example, if you want to look up Craig Pittman, you can see what episodes he was included in, and you'll also be able to check if I've made a separate Wrestling Bios video for certain superstars. I plan on expanding all of this with Reliving the War results and comparisons against the TV ratings, but there's only so many hours in a day, I'm afraid. I will get there, just give me a little time. Raw is still presenting matches from their Newark, Delaware tapings, while Nitro is live from Charleston, South Carolina. The WWF have put together a new Raw intro, but curiously, they've reverted back to the original Monday Night Raw theme song. Vince McMahon and Jerry Lawler let us know that we'll see another Billionaire Ted skit during the program, along with an announcement from Shawn Michaels. As Bobby Heenan gives Eric Bischoff the finger on Nitro, I love Heenan. The WCW commentary team promote the Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage versus Ric Flair in AA main event. Mongo McMichael grabs his format sheet and says that WCW is giving away pay-per-view matches for free, something the boys on the other channel won't do. Remember, the Billionaire Ted stuff started last week, so I'll be sure to listen closely to the commentary during this episode of Nitro to see what jabs Eric Bischoff gets in. Our first match on Nitro features Chris Benoit taking on Alex Wright, while Raw gives us Hakushi versus Jeff Jarrett. After Double J makes his way to the ring, we're shown clips from In Your House when Jeff Jarrett attacked Ahmed Johnson. Remember, Jarrett and Johnson will meet in the ring at the 1996 Royal Rumble. It's a shame Hakushi has been kind of pushed to the side here. The modern day kamikaze would only have around a month left in the WWE before taking himself back to Japan, where he still wrestles to this very day. Anyway, Jarrett gets the upper hand early on, giving Double J the chance to do his signature strut, but Hakushi answers with a leg sweep followed by an effortless shoulder block from the top rope. Double J takes a little time out to compose himself, we go to commercial break, and when we come back, Double J has the upper hand with an abdominal stretch. Jarrett then hits a rough DDT. It looks like he couldn't make his mind up here whether to do a DDT or a neck breaker, but either way, it looked kinda shit. Hakushi tries to fight back, but a dropkick attempt fails to find its mark. Jarrett is able to apply a chin lock, but Hakushi is able to get in some offense of his own, hitting his trademark cartwheel back elbow. Hakushi then goes for a springboard splash, but Jarrett gets the knees up, the figure 4 follows, and Double J wins via submission. Not a very refined match, and definitely nothing to write home about. We then get a brief Slam Jam update with Jim Ross. Jim lets us know a few of the Royal Rumble competitors, while Scheme Gene says he knows a mystery Royal Rumble entrant that he will reveal later. Let's go over to Nitro and check out the Benoit vs Wright match. Brian Pillman comes to the ring with the Canadian Crippler, and almost instantly, Benoit goes on the attack, not allowing Alex to even get his jacket off. The offense here is intense. Benoit hits a snap suplex followed by a swift body slam. Alex isn't even getting a chance to get started. Wright gets thrown out of the ring, allowing Brian Pillman to choke Das Wunderkind behind the referee's back as the commentary team take note of Pillman's new loose cannon gimmick. gimmick. After taking a beating from Benoit in the corner, Wright is finally able to mount some offense, going over Benoit's head with a moonsault but following up with a huge crossbody. I mean, it's quite impressive how much air Wright gets here with this move. Benoit finds himself on the outside of the ring, leading to Alex again taking flight and coming down on Benoit from the top turnbuckle. Alex goes after Pillman, but Pillman runs away laughing. As the match gets back in the ring, the cheap shots from Eric Bischoff start on commentary. Eric says, "In the month of January, WCW is going to bring you the most exciting wrestling action available anywhere, absolutely free. And while the other organisation, I think it's called Titanic Sports, are raising the price of their pay-per-views and charging fans money to just have their picture taken with the belt, WCW said, forget about it, $19.95. The 1995 price tag for WCW pay-per-views wouldn't last long, by the way, and Eric Bischoff was delivering this information because WCW didn't have a pay-per-view scheduled for January. They instead had a Clash of the Champions event, and Clash shows were always free to begin with. So yeah, the shots were being fired here from both sides now after a few weeks of complete silence. Wright has a Boston Crab locked in. The two men get to their feet, trading chops and punches as Brian Pillman tries to cause a distraction. This leads to Wright hitting a plancha on the loose cannon and following up with some punches outside the ring. Benoit gets time to regroup, and after a series of suplex reversals, Chris Benoit is able to hit Wright with a pinning dragon suplex to score the pinfall victory. Brian Pillman celebrates by spitting on Das Wunderkind. A great competitive opening match here from Monday Nitro, and Alex Wright was impressive here too. Point for WCW. Y'all want to see a squash match? Ahmed Johnson versus Jeff Gretler on Raw, while Nitro presents Eddie Guerrero versus Lord Steven Regal. We're at a time during the Monday Night War where you can pick a winner just by looking at the cards, but still, let's give it a chance. Who knows, maybe Eddie Guerrero completely botches this week and Jeff Gretler puts on a match that makes Dave Meltzer think he's in the Tokyo Dome. Okay, first off, I was taken back by Jeff Gretler's ring attire. Not sure what was going on here. And then Ahmed Johnson does this. Again, not sure what was going on here, but consider me entertained. Ahmed hits a clothesline followed by a scissors kick. We see the spine buster, Pearl River plunge, and it's over. Jarrett tries to sneak attack Ahmed after the match, but it ends with Jarrett running away and leaving his guitar behind. Ahmed takes out his frustrations on the poor musical instrument. Bonus points for Gretler's wacky pants and whatever that move was that Ahmed tried at the start of the bout. I tried to find more info on Jeff Gretler, but not much is known about this man, nor why he decided to wear this ring attire. Lord Steven Regal comes to the ring for his match with Eddie Guerrero. Remember, Regal got a win over Chris Benoit last week, so let's see if his lordship can keep winning here on Nitro. The match starts off as Regal would like it to. We have lockups and holds, giving Guerrero an opportunity to work a different style here that we really hadn't seen yet. Guerrero gets Regal to the mat with a hammerlock. Regal shows his surprise when both men are back to their feet, and this just made me think about how much more appreciative I've become of Steve Regal matches as I've grown older. Not only was Regal such an incredible scientific grappler, but the man's facial expressions and body language was completely off the charts. It's easy as a young viewer back in 1996 to give all your attention to Regal's flashy opponents, but when you really study Regal as an in-ring performer, he was really on a completely other level. His matches have gotten better with age, it seems. As Regal wrestles his way out of a wrist lock with a one-leg monkey flip, I'm not kidding by the way, Eric Bischoff delivers more jabs by saying, "Forget about the royal fumble. Tune in to WCW Nitro on the 22nd and the Clash on the 23rd from the entertainment capital of the world." Regal is out wrestling Eddie Guerrero at this point. 3 times Eddie fires back with some impressive quick offense, including a nice head scissors takedown, but Regal finds a way to stop Guerrero and slow the match down. Regal is beating Guerrero pretty soundly here as the crowd tries to get Eddie back into the match, chanting for Guerrero as Regal is in some vicious European uppercuts and hard-hitting forearms. Small glimmers of hope from Eddie keeps the match flowing along. Eddie tries to catch Regal out with a few sneaky pin attempts, but it it always ends with Regal destroying Eddie for his efforts. Stiff blows and submission moves are on top here, leading to yet another hidden gem of the WCW Nitro library. At one point in the match, Regal hits Eddie with a main backhand slap that fires Guerrero up, only for Regal to once again brutalise his opponent to the mat with more stiff shots. Finally, Eddie is able to counter a punch, leading to Guerrero winning the match with a backslide pin. Steve Regal tries to attack Eddie after the match. He can't believe what just happened. And yeah, this was extremely good stuff here from WCW in my opinion. Eddie Guerrero once again getting involved in an entertaining match, and Steve Regal coming across as a mean and nasty old school groveler. Check this one out if you have the time. Another point for WCW. Promos up next. Ted DiBiase is going to reveal his new $1 Million champion on Raw, while Sting and Lex Luger get interviewed on Nitro. Mean Gene makes a comment about the new generation over on the WWF, saying that Sting and Lex Luger are mainstays of WCW, while the new generation have added a few names who will soon be collecting their social security. The Scheme Gene stuff on Raw must have been cutting deep here, but anyway, Sting has a question for Lex Luger. The Stinger wants to know why Lex Luger stopped him from getting back into the ring at Starrcade by holding his arm. Remember, this led to a count-out victory for Ric Flair. Lex Luger says, get this, his knee was hurt and he was reaching out to Sting for support. He wanted Sting to help him back to his feet. Yeah, right, Lex, okay, whatever. Somehow Luger swings this all around, saying he wants to prove himself by becoming Sting's full-time tag team partner. Sting, for whatever reason, thinks this is a great idea, and the segment is over. And so this means we've now got a new tag team in WCW. Over on Raw, it's time to make a little history. Ted DiBiase said last week that this will be the year of the $1 Million champion, and this week, again on the Brother Love Show, DiBiase is going to introduce the world to his latest signee. The Ringmaster is announced as the new $1 Million champion. Steve Austin tells the fans at home to reach out and touch their TVs so they can feel the greatness of the Ringmaster. Steve also announces that he will be part of the 1996 Royal Rumble. Just to confirm also, this actually was Steve Austin's debut here. The Ringmaster did wrestle Scott Taylor on an episode of Superstars, but you have to remember, this Raw was taped way back on the 18th of December. The Scott Taylor match happened the night after these tapings. Austin's true debut match in the WWF was against Matt Hardy during these same Raw tapings, and that match gets aired next week after this Brother Love segment right here. A point for Raw then, not only because the debut of Steve Austin is quite important in regards to the whole Monday Night War, but Sting suddenly deciding that Lex Luger was super cool didn't make a whole lot of sense. The Stinger's in action next against Diamond Dallas Page, while Aldo Montoya will square off with Goldust over on Raw. The Page vs Sting match starts off with DDP putting out his cigar on Sting's face, giving Page a chance to take the early advantage with a series of strikes in the corner. DDP finds himself caught in the ropes though, allowing Sting to dropkick Page out of the ring and follow up with a dive over the top rope. A botched leapfrog leads to DDP taking the driver's seat for a little while. Page gloats and shows off to the fans while laying the offense into Sting. DDP hits a neckbreaker, but it only gives him a 1 count. He then applies a chin lock while using the ropes for leverage. Sting makes it to his feet, but he's brought back down again by Page. It feels like this chin lock has been applied a little too long at this point. Sting once again makes it to his feet, delivering a face crusher followed by an atomic drop and drop kick combination. Sting then hits the Stinger splash, but Page is able to grab the bottom rope when the Scorpion Deathlock is applied. Page hits another neckbreaker, but once again it gets him nowhere. Sting is eventually able to reverse a back suplex attempt into the Scorpion Deathlock to pick up the submission win. This one went on a little longer than expected, and while it was good to see Page get more time on TV, he still wasn't where he needed to be in terms of his in-ring abilities. DDP would be the first person to tell you that he needed to improve his ring work during this time period, and thankfully Page would do just that and become a cornerstone of mid to late 90s WCW, but he wasn't there during this Nitro match with the Stinger. Still, there's hope. Raw is giving us Aldo Montoya versus Goldust. Dustin Rhodes and PJ Polacco are two talented wrestlers, but this could be a case of the WWF bringing things down with not only their character-driven gimmicks, but how they let out matches like this for TV. One of the first things that stands out here though is Aldo Montoya's selling capabilities. I mean, he's bumping hard here for Goldust, trying to make his opponent look as good as possible. Things have started off here with Goldust firmly in control. It's quickly going into squash match territory as Montoya hasn't had a chance to get a single move in. Goldust is literally standing on his opponent's head here. Just as Montoya begins mounting a little bit of offense and firing up, Goldust catches his opponent out and delivers the curtain call. And I think this was the very first time Goldust performed the curtain call on TV, but don't quote me on that. It's all over, and I'm afraid the point again goes to Nitro. DDP was maybe not where he needed to be just yet, but at least the Nitro match was somewhat competitive. Following the Goldust match, we see clips of a Royal Rumble press conference where Shawn Michaels announces he will take part in the 1996 Royal Rumble. The WWF were now hoping all those sympathy-inducing promos were going to pay off. We also get some words from Razor Ramon, Diesel and Owen Hart in regards to Shawn's return. Diesel says that HBK is still his friend, but he won't hesitate to eliminate Shawn from the Royal Rumble match. And then Scheme Gene gives us his big scoop. Gene tells us that Vader will be in the Royal Rumble, news we already heard last week. Main event time, the WWF present a replay from the In Your House 5 pay-per-view along with another Billionaire Ted skit. We get to see Bret Hart versus Davey Boy Smith here one more time, while WCW presents Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage versus Ric Flair and Arn Anderson. I said last week that this would be a default point for Nitro. I'm not a fan of match replays at all, and I know some people said that this was great for people who didn't order the pay-per-view. I agree with that sentiment completely, but when you're retroactively looking at these shows in this kind of manner, then that's a complete different story. Bret versus Davey is good here. Bret gets some serious colour during the bout, and it really has become somewhat of a hidden gem over the past lot of years. But Nitro were putting on new live matches over on their show, and looking back now, it feels a little lazy that the WWF would replay a pay-per-view main event. It's tricky too, because the In Your House 5 main event would be hard to beat if I was just comparing one match to another, but I'm thinking more of the context of reliving the war and the whole idea of comparing Raw versus Nitro and not a pay-per-view main event versus a Nitro main event, if that makes sense. Bret gets the win at In Your House 5. It will take an absolute disaster for Nitro not to get the point here, but we'll see how they do in a moment. After the In Your House 5 replay, we get another Billionaire Ted skit, and judging by the comments Eric Bischoff had been making on commentary on Nitro, WCW were paying attention here. It starts getting a little below the belt here with this skit. While Billionaire Ted and his marketing team try to come up with a nice, dishonest slogan for WCW, the Nacho Man chimes in with his own suggestion. WCW, where the big boys play. Billionaire Ted likes the idea, and then, out of nowhere, the Nacho Man asks what happens if the big boys of WCW have to take a wellness test, and the huckster says not to worry about that because they aren't in the WWF anymore. They don't need to worry about all that kind of stuff. Billionaire Ted agrees, saying that WCW is indeed where the big boys play. It's silly, it's a low blow, it's Vince McMahon being a total hypocrite, but I find it funny and ridiculous enough to maybe give Raw a little glimmer of hope. Let's see if the huckster and the Nacho Man could put on a decent performance over on Nitro. As the Mega Powers make their way to the ring, Steve McMichael, with a straight face, says this on commentary. No one else on the planet has these wrestling gods wrestling for them. They have a bunch of has-beens and so-sos. Look at these boys, they're gonna take care of business. To be fair, the match did have a big main event feel to it during the entrances. Flair and Anderson took their time getting into the ring, and the audience were excited to see these guys lock up. The Nature Boy starts things off with Hulk Hogan. You're hoping that the Hulkster would give a little here in the opening moments, and when Flair gets a front face lock applied, there is hope. In no time at all though, Hogan has reversed it into a hammerlock, and you get that old WCW Hulk Hogan feeling that this one is going to play out like all the rest. It's worse than expected here. Hogan flat out mocks Ric Flair after the Nature Boy delivers his signature chops, and Hogan is able to then wipe out Flair and Anderson without the Macho Man having to raise a finger. Arn Anderson gets tagged in, Hulk tags in Savage, and now the babyfaces will actually get a chance to sell thanks to the Macho Man. Double A is no problem for Savage as the Macho Man brings a double axe handle to the enforcer on the outside of the ring. Another double axe handle is delivered inside the ropes, but the Nature Boy breaks up the following pin attempt. And look right here, when Flair gets tagged in, Randy Savage makes the WCW champion actually look good. Who would have thought it? When Flair goes to the top rope though, you know the tides are going to swiftly turn, but still, at least Savage didn't laugh in Flair's face. Savage puts the figure 4 on Flair, leading to Hulk Hogan also putting the figure 4 on Double A, and this little spot gets a great crowd reaction. As Ric Flair dumps Savage to the outside, Eric Bischoff reveals that the Macho Man and Hulk Hogan will take on the Giant and Ric Flair at Clash of the Champions. We go to commercial break, and when we come back, Double A has the Macho Man in peril as the Nature Boy lends a helping hand. Flair gets tagged in and Savage continues to take a beating. If you think this is all leading to the Hulkster getting the hot tag and cleaning house, then you'd be absolutely right. The Horsemen are destroying Savage with quick tags and offense on the outside of the ring. Flair and Anderson are outsmarting the referee here to stay on top of the match. Savage gets a few roll-ups, but the WCW champion Ric Flair is able to find a way out. The hot tag comes when Savage holds onto the ropes during an Arn Anderson DDT attempt. Savage is staggering around the ring and Ric Flair drives a knee into Savage's back, and this makes Savage fall forward into the Hulkster and the tag is made. So Hogan has another opportunity in the ring with Ric Flair. Guess what happens? Hogan sells for Flair and the WCW champion gets the pinfall win. Nah, just kidding. Hogan sells nothing and he completely destroys the Nature Boy and Arn Anderson in the ring. I mean, he completely takes care of the Horsemen on his own here, and the Hulkster scores the win with the big boot and the leg drop to Anderson. At least Flair didn't get pinned, but still, the WCW champion and the most elite faction in WCW were made to look like complete chumps in comparison to Hulk Hogan. Give Savage his due. He was working hurt here and he sold everything that was thrown at him, but Hogan was seemingly getting worse and worse as the weeks went on. Minimal in-ring work, no selling his opponent's offense, and picking up victories while being completely uncompetitive even when working against the WCW champion. Pillman and Benoit run down afterwards, leading to the Dungeon of Doom also hitting the ringside area. Remember, Pillman and Kevin Sullivan were having issues, and so a massive brawl breaks out. The Giant comes into the ring and he chokeslams Hulk Hogan, and I was actually delighted to see it. And poor Randy Savage also takes the Giant's finisher before the Zodiac stops the big man from delivering even more punishment. Remember last week that the Zodiac done the exact same thing, and yeah, this was actually going somewhere, a place where nobody wanted to go. I didn't really enjoy this Nitro match due to how predictable it was and how the match was laid out to make the WCW champion look weak while Hogan looked like a complete superhero. Yet I'm also torn over the WWF showing a pay-per-view match replay that was admittedly a very good match. As stated earlier though, I'm comparing Raw and Nitro broadcasts, not pay-per-view matches, and I begrudgingly give the last point in Nitro based on the fact that WCW put on a new live match. If I was forced to tell you which match you should watch, I'd tell you to watch Bret vs Davey, but it doesn't seem right giving Raw a point here for putting on a replay. It was kinda lazy of the WWF. So Alex Wright hung in there with Chris Benoit to score Nitro the first point. Jeff Jarrett and Hakushi failed to impress. Steve Regal and Eddie Guerrero had the match of the week, while the WWF managed to score a point thanks to the arrival of the Ringmaster. DDP vs Sting was better than Goldust vs Aldo Montoya, and finally, A painfully predictable Nitro Tag Team main event scored a point because the WWF aired a match we already saw on pay-per-view. Another win for Nitro on Reliving the War, meaning our overall scores are 4 points to Raw, 10 points to Nitro, and we've had 3 ties. Raw got the win in the television ratings, scoring a 3, while Nitro managed a 2.8. Next week on Reliving the War, we have a few Monday night debuts. The Public Enemy have their very first match on Nitro, while the Ringmaster tries to impress over on Monday Night Raw. We also have Sting vs Ric Flair, Lex Luger vs Randy Savage, Marty Jannetty vs Owen Hart, and The Undertaker vs Isaac Yankem DDS. It should be a good one, so I hope you join me next week. Thanks for watching this episode of Reliving the War.